What's up, everyone? Justin Melo and Justin Graver back here with another exclusive YouTube breakdown for the Music City Audible channel. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel to get all of our breakdowns because this is the fourth one we've done now. We did Notre Dame offensive tackle Joe Alt. We did Penn State offensive tackle Ola Fashanu, which you can only watch on Twitter thanks to YouTube's copyright policies. And we just released our Malik Neighbors film breakdown earlier this week. Now we are getting to Alabama right tackle JC Latham, who is, a projected first-round pick. The range of JC Latham, you could find him anywhere from the top 10 to in the 20s. I saw Bruce Feldman's mock draft that came out on Thursday has him going 24th to the Packers. So, Justin, talk to me about this prospect. Is this a guy the Titans would consider taking at number 7, or is this maybe one of their top trade down options?
Well, I'm really high on the player. First off, a little background. He's 6'5", 342 pounds. Those were the official measurements we received. That's 95th percentile weight, by the way, and historically. That's per mock draftable. And all the other measurements line up with that. 11-inch hands. We talked about Olu's small hands the other day. 11-inch hands for JC Latham. That's also 95th percentile. And then 82nd percentile length. His arms are greater than 35 inches. I'm surprised it's not even higher than 82 when you surpass 35 inches. But also 82 percentile wingspan, over 84 inches on the wingspan. So this is a mammoth man, right? It goes without saying. Would they consider him at 7? I don't know. For me, he's like the 11th or 12th best prospect in this class. Like that's where he places roughly on my big board. But you have to factor in, he's probably not going to be the 11th or 12th best player available. He's probably going to be lower than that because you've got some quarterbacks who I think he's better than that are going to go higher than him. Right. So all of a sudden you start pushing down maybe a Malik Neighbors or a Rome Odunze or a Marvin Harrison Jr., or a Joe Alt, guys that I have ranked ahead of him, even a Brock Bowers, who I have slightly ranked ahead of him as well. So I don't know that they'd consider him at 7, but I do think if you're trading down, even as that 10 to 14 range, I've talked about so many QB needy teams in that range, right? I think Minnesota 11, Denver 12, Vegas 13, all those QB needy teams. If you're executing a trade down with one of them, I really like JC Latham all of a sudden if you're at number 13 overall, even 14 overall. So, and the draft, I'm with the Draft Network, some of our mocks as well. I think one of our mocks had him at 31 recently to San Francisco. So his projection seems to be all over the place right now, but he's a player that I've been extremely high on the entire time.
He seems like one of these guys that, depending on the team, he could be ranked anywhere from offensive tackle 1 to offensive tackle 5. He is, going to be one of these guys that might be victim to a very strong tackle class in terms of how far he falls in the draft. But it also wouldn't shock me to see him go before any of the other tackles when we talk about the Chargers sitting at pick 5 needing a right tackle.
Right.
And I think that's the big distinction here as we get into Latham's tape we'll talk about is, can he play on the left side? Now, the Titans are one of a few teams that actually need a right tackle and a left tackle, and maybe that would make him a fit in Tennessee where you bring him in, you could stick him on the right side and figure out the left, scrap it together, or you could see if he has the ability to flip to that left side, and if he picks it up quickly, then your left tackle situation is solved. We've seen guys come into the league who were primarily right tackles in college who have made that flip, and we've seen other guys struggle tremendously to make that switch to the other side of the field. So with the Titans situation, you could start him at left tackle. If he struggles, put him back on his more natural side on the right side. If he picks it up quickly, then your left tackle situation is solved.
I've been wrong before, and I've been wrong to you before with the Dylan Radin situation, as long-term listeners recall. But I'd be really stunned if this was a guy that played left tackle at the next level. He just screams right tackle to me. And it's not just that all of his experience has come on the right side, but I think all 32 teams would agree with me. He's a better run blocker than pass protector. And maybe this is a little bit of an old school mantra, but I think you still see this around the league. I think a lot of teams want to have a mauling road grader at right tackle. That's what he is. And have more of a pass protector on the left side. You're protecting the blind side in most situations. A guy that can win one-on-one. I think JC is a right tackle through and through. I'd be very surprised if that wasn't his position at the next level.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where a lot of the value between left and right tackle has become diminished. The line is blurred
Right.
with pass rushers lining up on both sides of the field. But at the same time, I think what you're saying is true about protecting the blind side. You have a right-handed quarterback, as most of them are in Will Levis, so that is still the side of the field that he can't see as well. So you do want somebody who could win on an island as your pass protector on the left side. And what you're seeing here on your screen is Alabama against Texas. This is the game we're going to break down here. The Alabama Crimson Tide against Texas Longhorns. Same thing we kind of did with Joe Alt and Ola Fashanu. We're looking at one game here so we can go through, pick out the things that stand out. Before we really dive into this film breakdown, though, let me tell you guys about our sponsors, Sinkers Beverages in East Nashville and Bluegrass Beverages in Hendersonville. Giant walk-in beer fridge over at Sinkers. If you're in the Nashville area, you want to stock up on drinks, you got a party coming up, maybe a draft party, for instance, head over to Sinkers Beverages in East Nashville, get all your booze, Bluegrass Beverages in Hendersonville, and make sure you sign up for the In Crowd, which you can do on the Sinkers website, or in the description of this video, there's a link that'll take you right there to sign up to the Sinkers In Crowd. In Crowd members get exclusive offers, access to allocated wines and spirits, barrel releases, and more, so make sure you are signing up for the Sinkers In Crowd. All right, with that, Justin, let's start this tape over so we can start breaking down some of Alabama against Texas here, looking at JC Latham.
And I want to give some, as this tape starts rolling, feel free to interrupt me if we see something here that we want to point out. But I want to give a bit more background. One thing that concerns me with the prospect, because I haven't said a lot about that, no testing at the combine or pro day. No testing results. Bit of a red flag for me, because why? I would assume hundreds and thousands, millions of dollars go into making these decisions, the investment, right? So these decisions aren't made by accident. They are combed through very, very finely. You'd have to assume the testing numbers weren't great. That's all I can do with that information. If you're not testing, it's not an injury that's preventing you from testing. It's a decision, right? So you have to assume naturally when that's happening, the results probably would have been great. And I think that sort of lines up with the tape where I think, again, he's more of a maul or a road grader than he is some phenomenal athlete. I mean, he's 345 pounds, so that lines up.
I mean, he is, when you look at the tape, you can see the sort of foot quickness he has. He's lighter on his feet than you might expect for a 365-pound guy.
I thought he was athletic on tape. Yeah, agreed.
And there is a chance that the reason he didn't do testing is because he's been told that he's going to go higher than people expect. But although I think it's a different situation when you talk about a guy who didn't do anything, like Caleb Williams, the obvious number one pick, Malik Neighbors, a guy that's Marvin Harrison, guys that will be top 6, top 7 picks there. So I think that it is a little bit different situation, but if we're not going to knock those guys for it, I have a hard time also knocking Latham.
Well, but Neighbors tested at pro day at least, right? Ran a vertical, jumped a vertical, ran a 40. Caleb Williams threw the football at pro day at least.
Well, he did position. He did his position drills at pro day, and he did stuff on the field at the combine. Just didn't do the testing.
Right.
If anyone's confused, we're watching right tackle. Number 65 is the player we're watching on this tape here, in case anyone's eyes were in the wrong spot. So a couple of reps of run blocking here that have started this tape off. I will say, when we talk about him being a road grader, he's a very aggressive blocker. He really gets out and hunts his assignments. But the problem sometimes we'll see, and it'll come up on this tape quite often, is that he gets a little too aggressive and he really lunges at guys. He can get his body out of position, leaned over. We're going to see it right here on the left side of your screen, the right tackle, as he goes to try to make this block. There you can see
lean there.
He leans a lot. Now he's got a good initial latch here. He's got his hands inside the defender. The defender's got his hands inside too. They're working hard against each other. And this little snatch technique pulls him forward, and he loses his balance because he doesn't have a good base under him here. He tends to lean a little bit. This will be an issue that comes up at times. Now, a lot of the time that aggression is good. He gets the defender, and gives him a good pop before they're really ready to counter what he's doing. But a lot of times it can get him out of position as well, and that's just something he's going to need to work on, being a little more patient. It happens more often in run blocking than you see it in pass protection, but sometimes in pass protection as well. Impatient. He tries to make that initial punch. When we watch the Alt film, we watch the Fashanu film, I talked about, waiting for the defender to declare what kind of move they're going to make. You don't always see that patience from Latham. Here we have it again in the run game, just getting a little over his toes, getting his head, they say, over his skis. Look at how leaned forward he is, head down. You never want to be in this position as an offensive lineman. You want to keep your head up, flat back, maintain your leverage here. When you're leaning over like this, you can't really explode from your lower body and use all of your strength and your leverage to make a block. Instead, you end up falling on the ground like this, missing the block. Luckily, the run goes away, or the run fake goes away from him, so it doesn't affect this play. But that's 2 reps already here in the first quarter. We've seen him sort of get off balance and lose in the run game.
And I want to add some context. A lot of these reps are here against Texas. We know they're 2 draft eligible. Best defenders were interior guys, right? Byron Murphy and T'Vondre Sweat. We're not going to see a whole lot of reps against them. Who we are seeing reps against is number 91 defensive end Ethan Burke, who actually led the Longhorns in sacks this year with 5.5. And number 88, Baron Sorrell, is the other guy we're seeing a lot of reps against. He had 4 sacks this year. I spoke to T'Vondre Sweat the other day, had a great interview with him, and I talked about the chemistry he had with Byron Murphy. And he said, hey, don't forget about 88 and 91. Like, they helped us so much by winning one-on-one blocks, making sure we were freed up for our matchups. These are 2 good football players that are maybe not deserving or not getting the credit they deserve. They didn't come out, so potentially that's why, but these are 2 good players that Latham's facing here.
Yeah, and here is a rep against Baron Sorrell that really shows off, I think, his best strength, which is just his pure strength. His pure, ability to just overpower guys. Here we have Sorrell going with the long arm technique, which a lot of times can get offensive linemen more upright, get them out of their ideal leverage position here. And you see it right here with that left arm of Sorrell pushing Latham back. But watch how Latham recovers, anchors against this long arm, recovers, and then not only finishes the block in the run game. Look, he's moving the defender literally out of the hole as the back is there. So continuing to stay connected here, do not allow this defender to disengage and make the tackle, and then not only pushes him out of the hole, but finishes the block on top, pancake, serving him up, flapjacks. Time for breakfast, Justin.
Well, it goes back to what I said earlier about him being a better run blocker than pass protector, an absolute mauler, road grader. This is an outstanding run blocking rep. And this is what he's going to bring to an NFL team at the next level. He is going to open up those lanes for running backs to explode through. And they're going to be big holes when you're running behind them. So that's an outstanding rep. I don't know that there's a tackle in this class, and I'm going to repeat myself probably a bit throughout this video because there are a couple of things I think of this player, but I don't know that there's a tackle in this class with a better anchor that you talked about the anchor on that rep. I don't know that there's a player. And I love this tackle class. I'm obsessed with it. As you can tell, we've done 3 breakdowns already on these players. I don't know that there's a tackle with a better anchor than this guy.
And here we see him, the defensive alignment oftentimes keys where an offensive lineman is supposed to block. So when you're matched up like this with the inside shade guy on your, here in this B gap, he's looking at sealing off this block here, right? Because they're trying to open the lane here. And when this defender ends up going outside, he's got to quickly reassess where's my next biggest threat coming up this gap and identifies linebacker Jalen Ford coming up this gap here. So just a nice job of post-snap recognition here when your alignment tells you who you're supposed to block, but then things change after the snap. Look, there he is looking to block 95. 95 goes outside, quickly re-identifies his next biggest threat and shoves Jalen Ford out of the hole here. It's not a super clean block, but it's effective. It gets the defender out of the hole, allows the running back to get up into the second level. And that's sometimes all it takes, especially when you do have to quickly adjust on the fly post-snap. That recognition there shows off some of his intelligence, so I really like this rep.
Well, again, all it takes, just do enough, right? And Jalen Ford, another draft-eligible linebacker on front seven, defender on this great Texas team. So that's a very notable rep. All it takes, just did enough to spring his running back for a positive gain.
Here we have a combo block where he just totally caves in the right side of this line to allow the back to get upfield. Look at that. I mean, of course he's getting help from his teammate, but this is a very common block you see executed at the next level. And that inside man, the guard 71, is climbing to the next level. Also gets his face mask yanked right there, but is climbing to the next level. So although it is initially a double team combo block, it's up to Latham to finish this block. And that's what we see on his tape all the time. We saw it on the rep before this one. We see it here, just getting the guy to the ground, something we didn't always see on Fashion News tape. And look at this nastiness. This is the mean streak you want to see from your offensive line. Look, the running back is being tackled here. Running back is on the ground. The play is over. But watch Latham up here finish this block by just getting the defender on the ground. Look at him just sit on him at the end of the play. You love to see that from your offensive lineman. The inconsistencies do show up though, because we see 2 great run blocking reps in a row, and then it's back to the lunging, leaning block here. Keep your head up, son. Do not put your head down and lunge like this. I mean, the defender is totally able to evade this block because he just puts his head down and gets in to help clean up the play. He's like, man, look at him. He's like, man, got my head down again.
and the play is killed right then and there because of it, right? Yeah. So that's one of those negative reps we'll see on this tape.
Here's a good pass pro rep where, again, you're not sure where the rush is coming from, but you just want to be ready and alert. Keep your head on a swivel. Keep ready to pick up the guy when he moves to the outside. Not much complicated there, but just a nice job being patient and picking up the man he's responsible for.
You can tell how alert and locked in he is on that block, though.
Right. And that's something you want to see, again, the post-snap recognition. Here we see him, again, get a little off balance, a little bit of lean, but he is powerful enough to affect this rusher. This is a run play, but the Jalen Ford on the outside looks like he's doing almost like a pass rush dip here, and Latham's able to use that momentum against him, push him away from the hole. Again, sometimes it's just about doing enough. You don't always have to pancake your guy.
And it's those positive gains, right? Without that, I'm not convinced that play goes for 3, 4, 5 yards.
Right. Again, you see him with the combo block there, recognition as he shifts and picks up another guy midway through. Here he's one-on-one with Baron Sorrell, and you love to see the hand fighting. He has really good ability with his hands. He varies his punches a lot, but he also does a nice job resetting his hands to keep them inside the defender's, the defender's wingspan and keep him inside on the chest there. So a nice rep here, fighting off that initial contact, the little chop swat thing you got there from Sorrell, and keeping his hands on the pass rusher, working him around the arc. Nice job finishing that rep through the pass.
And that's what you want to see more of, right? These one-on-one pass pro reps where he just flat out wins.
Here you see him ready to pick up the stunt here. 97 crashing inside. Jalen Ford wrapping around. 41 looping around to the... 97 crashing outside. Jalen Ford looping inside. He picks up 97 here. And again, finish the block by getting your man on the ground. Pancakes. That's what, 4 pancakes we've seen already? It's the first quarter.
First quarter. Now it's overwhelming
the second
amount of
quarter.
Power, right? Again, goes back to what I said about the overall profile of the player. An overwhelming amount of power in his hands throughout his whole frame. He's just coiled up at all times.
And here you see it again as he gets inside and under the shoulder pad of the defender and is able to just drive him off the line like he's pushing a sled in practice. This is that road grader mentality you were talking about.
Exactly. That's a landmark rep for him because you see it so many times when studying his tape.
Right. In the second quarter here. And I'll just say for context, as we watch some of these reps, may have got away with a hold on that one, but won the rep. That's this Texas game. When you look at like his PFF grades for the season, this Texas game graded out as one of his worst grades. I think a bottom 3, bottom 4 grade. The Michigan game, the Rose Bowl game in this college football playoff got a lot of attention because he gave up a few bad sacks in that game. And I think a lot of people overall in the season gave up 14 pressures and 2 sacks, which is really good numbers for your right tackle there. Not quite as good as Fashanu and Alt, but still really good numbers. But this Texas game, I think, is a good example to look at because we get to see some of his strengths and weaknesses with this being one of his worst graded games by PFF standards.
Well, it's one of the best teams they played on their schedule, obviously, right? With Texas going all the way to the college football playoff. So it's a big reason why. Yep. And it's not like that Michigan team was loaded with pass rushers on the edge either, in all honesty. So I actually felt this was probably a better game to take a look at.
Yeah, I agree. And as we look at here, a similar rep in pass protection to what we saw before, but this time you really see the anchor as he gets initially popped back. There, he's very upright, but he's able to get his feet reset underneath him there with leverage. Reestablish that anchor, and then while the quarterback's escaping the pocket, he's able to get this rusher on the ground. Again, we see that just 4 or 5 times we've seen already that he gets the defender on the ground. And even if it's not the cleanest win, if that rep ends with the defender on the ground, we said it a lot in the last video, like you're not affecting the play from the ground. There's nothing you can do there.
And it was also the difference there between a sack and giving the quarterback just enough time to escape the pocket and live to fight another down.
Right. Again, throws the defender to the ground. Ethan Burke that time, just a great job reestablishing leverage after initially kind of losing the early part of the rep, but then reestablishing, throwing the defender to the ground. Here we see another combo block in the run game, just do enough to get the defender out of the way, clear some space for the running back.
I don't know that there's a tackle in this class, and we're going to see it soon here on some of these run blocks. But I don't think there's a tackle in this class with the grip strength in his hands that he has.
Here he gets the defender on the ground again. Now, his arm does get a little bit outside here. You could potentially say this might be a holding call, but he gets away with it because his arm is still on the inside of that shoulder pad. And while he's got him hooked a little bit, he maintains the inside positioning there and is able to, yet again, get the defender on the ground.
Recurring theme.
And that's that overwhelming power you're talking about, is when your matchup is consistently winding up on the ground, even if you lose a rep here and there, that's domination for the most part.
This is the one prospect in this class where I could truly say when he gets his hands on you, he latches on, the rep is over.
Yeah. And there he is again. Look at that anchor as he gets knocked back by the initial bull rush. But like you said, he's got his hands on him. He's got him inside. When you keep your hands inside, you can get away with holding. I mean, it's technically not holding as long as you're inside your frame. Like, you are allowed to grab the pads in there. A lot of people misinterpret what a holding penalty even is. You are allowed to hold onto the defender's chest plate. You are allowed to do that if you keep your hands inside and inside your frame and don't, reach out and grab around away from your body. So even though it looks like there may be a holding there, that's technically a totally legal play and a great job reestablishing his anchor once he gets those hands inside.
It's what he does very, very well. And I want to talk a little about the Titans' need, if you don't mind, while we're going through these reps. You talked about needing both a left and right tackle. There's a universe out there where this guy is your right tackle. And, they still visited with Andres Pete, a potential left tackle in free agency. So there are different ways to skin a cat. Don't just, zero in on Joe Alt. And there are ways Titans can address this offensive line by drafting JC Latham.
Yeah, exactly. All right, before we continue this breakdown, really quickly, I want to shout out our sponsor here. We're presented by Sinkers Beverages in East Nashville and Bluegrass Beverages in Hendersonville. Make sure to check out Sinkers Beverages and Bluegrass Beverages if you're in the Nashville area. This is a great local business that supports the Titans community. Sinkers has been voted the best liquor store in Nashville by the Nashville Scene 2 years in a row, and Bluegrass has been serving the local community for over 50 years. Just celebrated their 50th anniversary last year. Head to the Sinkers Beverages website and sign up for the In Crowd to get access to allocated wines and spirits, exclusive events, and early access to barrel releases and more. You want to check out Sinkers Beverages and Bluegrass Beverages, and they're on Uber Eats. Just open up your Uber Eats app, search Sinkers Beverages, have all the booze you need delivered straight to your home. So check out. Thanks again to our sponsors. All right, Justin. Here we see another rep in pass pro against Sorrell, and it's, same story, different rep here with the handwork inside. There is a little bit of a tug on the jersey right there, but the hands are still inside. He doesn't really affect the defender's movement. Right there's that little tug as he starts to go outside. That is something he's going to have to be careful about. He's quick to disengage, to let go when he realizes he's in danger of coming close to a holding penalty, but he has such great grip strength, such big hands, such strong arms that when he does get his hands inside, as we've said, consistently wins once those hands are latched. And he works with that hand placement too. If his initial punch lands outside that frame, he works to bring his hands back around inside consistently. And that's technique you love to see.
I do think he's gotten away with one or two of them on this tape so far. That last
agree.
One particularly, the way the quarterback escapes the pocket and the attention's on that side, I'd expect that to be called a hold in the NFL.
Yeah, good thing Texas won this game even with the bad officiating. Am I right?
Of course you think that. He's going to win the hand battle 9 times out of 10.
Moving on here, late in the third quarter, got another combo rep here, blocking 95 up the field, continues to work him down to the second level, just trying to cave that side of the line in. Here in pass pro against the freshman Anthony Hill Jr. Now, I don't know how much you guys know about Anthony Hill Jr. there, number 0 on the outside. The people at Texas are raving about him. Played in a limited role as a true freshman this past season. He's going to step in and be, the Texas Longhorns' premier pass rusher this year, a guy that I think we'll hear about a lot in a couple draft cycles from now. And this is a good rep against him here as, again, you never know when that guy's going to drop into coverage, so he does a good job with his head on a swivel, aware of all possible threats, ready to engage here against Anthony Hill, gets hands on him as he tries to run around the outside, and knocks him back and continues to just protect his quarterback in this instance. This is a more patient rep than I think you'll typically see on Latham's tape, but it's great to see these when they do pop up because this is a well done rep.
Learning from some of the mistakes earlier, right, where he was a bit of a lunger. Yeah. Another reason I really like this rep, I don't know a ton about Anthony Hill Jr., but I can tell you right off the bat, what a different rusher stylistically for him, right? Yeah. It looks like a speedy guy that wants to win the arc. Look at that. He's got the capability to counter inside based on what I've seen. Very different from an Ethan Burke or a Barron Sorrell that we saw earlier. Yeah. So this is a really good rep for JC.
Anthony Hill is a pure speed guy, and this is a great job. You can see how light on his feet Latham is here and how well he does mirroring as he runs up the outside to keep the rusher around the arc here. Look at that footwork. Great kick slide. Great job with his hands reaching out, but staying upright, staying with that flat back, not lunging forward when he puts his hands out there.
Not getting over his toes mirroring like he did earlier.
Right, and I love just the way he mirrors through the end of this rep here and allows his quarterback to escape the pocket.
You got to, at the end of that rep, there's such a size difference from what I can tell. You got to think Anthony Hill Jr. feels like he's staring down a dancing bear. Right? Like, how am I getting around this guy?
Yeah. There is a big size difference. Yeah, Anthony Hill, a little undersized, but a pure speed guy. Tremendous athlete. And so it's great to see him matched up against power guys and speed guys in the same game. Again, another reason why we picked this Texas game to look at. Here he is against Ethan Burke. Got that hand inside and this rep is over from the start. Burke never really stands a chance.
Gets his hands on you, it's done.
Burke's got that long arm in there trying to create spacing for his own hands to work, for him to get upfield. But look at the right arm of Latham just controlling the position of the pass rusher, never allowing him to really threaten anything on this play.
The long arm's doing nothing for him on that rep. And Ethan Burke's what? He looks like he's at least 270, 280 maybe. It's like you and I are throwing a long arm at JC Latham. That's what that rep looks like.
Yeah, and we talked about that length before. When he gets his hands on you and locks out that arm, like, the defenders can have as much length as they want, but they're not getting into his body.
That grip strength, man. It's a vice-like grip.
It is. We're in the fourth quarter now. Again, similar rep to what we've seen before. Milroe goes down here, the quarterback, from Burke on the other side of the field, and you can see some of the difference here between, if you watch the left side, Burke rep against the left tackle as he gets under it and uses that power and speed to get to the quarterback. Couldn't do anything like that to Latham, who on the other side of the field, matched up with Barron Sorrell, just totally neutralizes him again with great hands inside, strong grip, doesn't allow him to disengage, doesn't allow him to threaten the quarterback. Unfortunately, his teammate did allow the defender to get to the quarterback.
Totally different. I like that you could kind of see the comparison there because we just saw how he won that rep against Ethan Burke a couple plays ago, and look at the difference with Burke on the left side.
Right. There he was looking for work. Not as much of a threat, but found somebody to do. He's always got his head on a swivel. When he's not matched up one-on-one with someone, finds somebody else to block, finds a teammate to help. You love to see that effort and just constantly trying to make an impact on the play. Similar rep in pass pro there. Hands inside. Defender trying to disengage. Can't get away. We see that a lot on this tape. Here he is against Jalen Ford. More of a speed outside threat. And again, Texas defense, you never know which rusher is coming. So initially, Latham is looking at the guy right across from him who's more rushing inside and realizes there's an outside threat. As a tackle, you always want to work the threats from the outside in, take care of the most pressing threat outside, which is what Latham does here when he's got two rushers against him. Good work with 71, his right guard there, to identify who's going to block who. Ford tries that little shoulder dip, gets his arm under Latham's arm, but Latham's, again, got the hand inside. That strength finishes the rep strong. Touchdown, Alabama.
It's the little things, right? Leads to the positive plays.
Again against Burke. Again, Burke, nothing doing on this rep.
It's been a theme throughout the tape.
It is a theme, and you love to see him just totally neutralize guys. Here we get to see him working against another stunt as Burke is looping around the inside. The tackle there lined up, in the B gap there over 71. Coming outside, Latham picks him up, controls him through the end of the rep. I don't think he's quite as strong as a guy like Joe Alt and Ola Fashanu were when we saw how quick their recognition was against stunts and stuff like that. But Latham, holds his own in that right. And that was the last play of this tape. So we did it. We got through the Latham breakdown. Justin, before we close out this pod, final thoughts on JC Latham. Again, I think the most important distinction here is determining if he can play left tackle, because if the Titans do target him, and we heard Teron Davenport say the Titans were very high on JC Latham, said that on Jared Stillman's show, 102.5 The Game radio in Nashville. If the Titans are very high on JC Latham, as reported, like, would they put him at left tackle? I think this is a huge question mark we have to ask. Can he play left tackle? We have no information based on watching his tape. There's no, reassurance that he can flip to the left side. So you said you see him as a right tackle in the NFL. Strategically, as you look to build out this Titans roster, are you okay with spending what could be a high first-round pick, even with a trade back, a top half first-round pick on a right tackle, as the Titans once did with Jack Conklin? But back then they had Taylor Lewan. They don't have a left tackle right now. How would you feel about the decision, just strategically building the roster if that was the move they made?
Well, I'd feel a lot better about them doing it through a trade down. I think if they took him at 7, I'd probably have some questions about the building perspective. But if they're doing it and they're getting a bunch of extra picks, this is my line of thinking. I don't know that they could trade down, accumulate a bunch of picks, and still take a left tackle, right? Yeah. Because you look at the crop of them. JC Latham's a right tackle. I got the exact same thoughts on Talis Fuaga. He's a right tackle. Amarius Mims at Georgia, although he's one that I think can play left tackle, he was primarily a right tackle at Georgia, right? So if you're not getting Joe Alt or Olu Fashanu at the top half of this draft, the one other left tackle is Troy Fatanu out of Washington, but I'm higher on Latham as a prospect overall than I am on Troy. So that would be an interesting discussion. Mims, what do they think of him, right? Obviously a much smaller sample size and a guy that's primarily played right, although I think it's a different story, as I said, because he's got the movement skills and the athleticism, I think, to play left. Very different player than this one here. So I think if they traded down and picked up a couple of picks, a couple extra day 2 picks, maybe a 2025 first, if they're lucky, depends how far they're going, I think I could get on board with the right tackle. But if they're staying at 7, to me, it's a no-brainer. They've got to go with a left tackle.
Yeah, I agree with that. And if you look about building the team as a 2-year plan versus a 1-year plan, where you can trade back, get some extra picks, fill some of those other holes on defense, maybe get a third wide receiver who will eventually be your second wide receiver when DeAndre Hopkins is gone, something like that to fill out the rest of the roster. And then if you are able to trade back and pick up a first rounder next year, which I think they'd have to move back pretty far in order to do something like that, but it's possible. Then the following year, you package your 2 first rounders, come up and get your franchise left tackle or something like that, attack it a year later. I don't necessarily love the idea of kicking that can down the road because it is such an important position. But if you feel that you're trying to build this roster up over the next 2 years and you can solidify the right tackle position and worry about left tackle later, then I don't hate that strategy. Although I do think that it's going to be a left tackle at the pick, especially if they stay at 7. But I think, the top 2 options if they trade down are Ola Fashanu and JC Latham. And if they really love JC Latham as much as has been reported, it wouldn't shock me at all to see him be the pick at, 9, 11, 12, 13, 17 if they trade down with somebody like that.
I get what you're saying, and I'm mostly on board with it. I think can Ran Carthon, and look, Callie just got here, so he's got some time and some goodwill, but can Ran Carthon kick the can down the road another year at left tackle when the Andre Dillard experience went so poorly? And then on top of it, he wasn't here for it. But Titans fans aren't going to let the franchise forget that it's been like the worst position 2 years in a row, right? Like Dennis Daly, what's the process here? Can they go from Dennis Daly to Andre Dillard to Andres Pete or a rookie second rounder? Like, can they really treat one of the 3 most important positions on the football team like that? I don't think they can, so I do think it's going to be a left as well. But again, they're not always in agreement with us, and they do things differently than we do. So maybe they do decide to kick that can down the road and take a right tackle, trade back, take a receiver, whatever it is. I'm on board with you, but I think Carthon would probably have to answer the question at left tackle because they've been pissed about it for 2 years, and public outrage a lot of times forces decisions. It just is the nature of the beast, right? Like it's paying members paying fans that sometimes will let you hear it. So I think they got to go with a left tackle, but that's a really good right tackle that we just watched. And certainly if Tehran's report through a trade back, whatever it is, you'd have to think he'd maybe be in play.
Yeah, and just overall final thoughts on this prospect. Again, very, very strong prospect. Could be offensive tackle 1 in a weaker class that doesn't have an alt and a Fashanu in it. Negatives are very far and few between. We saw it on this tape here, just that aggressive nature sometimes has a tendency to dip his head when he's, trying to execute those run blocks and get off balance, get over your skis, and can sometimes wind up on the ground that way. But for the most part, a very strong prospect with very few holes in his game. And I think you'll live with those few times that he's being a little too aggressive, because you don't want to coach that aggressiveness out of him. You just want him to do it with better technique, with a flatter back, with his head up. So yeah, I think that does it for this breakdown. Justin, any final thoughts?
No, I'll just, again, road grader, Mauler, plug and play right tackle for me, instant starter, instant contributor, and a top, in my opinion, a top, 15 overall prospect in this class.
All right, that'll do it. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel, the Music City Audible podcast. Not sure how many more of these we're going to do. We have a couple more 3 more weeks from today until the draft, so maybe we'll get a few more out, but also trying to wait and see how YouTube treats these videos. Like I said, we had to post Fashanu on Twitter because it got blocked, so we will keep you guys posted.
There's a ton of these out there. I don't understand. And what about like the fair trade and use agreement, right? Like, we're using these for educational purposes. We are educating our fans, our viewers, NFL draft fans on these prospects. We're not doing it for any other reason. So I don't get it.
So we'll see how it goes. We'll keep you guys updated on the podcast version of this show if we plan to do more. Hopefully we will get some more out there. But as we sign off, a reminder to everyone that we are brought to you by Sinkers Beverages in East Nashville and Bluegrass Beverages in Hendersonville. So thanks to our sponsors. Make sure you check out Sinkers Beverages website or the link in this episode description and sign up for the Sinkers In Crowd. All right, that'll do it. We'll be back soon. Until then, y'all stay safe out there and tighten up.
A Broadway sports media production.